Hi, I'm Matt Blake. Welcome to today's Fast Lesson History. Let's talk about Andrew Jackson. Welcome to Knockoff Crash Course. Andrew Jackson, a president everybody likes. No. Just no. In the eyes of the people, Jackson was a hero, a war hero. He was famous for many battles, such as the War of 1812 in general. There was the Battle of New Orleans, which he was known as a hero for facing the British on defense, of course. And then also the First Seminole War, which was kind of just confusing. For being such a hero, Jackson got a great reward, failing his first presidential campaign. That's right, he didn't make it in the first time. But the second time, in 1828, he was elected in 1829, March 1829. And that was the start of his great two-term presidency. Jackson was not a very peaceful man. In fact, he fought people regularly in the White House. They had to clean up blood and replace walls fairly frequently. And this guy who was a hero actually had a lot more enemies than you would think. Mainly these people known as the Immortal Trio in the Approach book. This political trio consisted of John Calhoun, Henry Clay, and Daniel Webster. These three were either the vice president themselves, senators, or a representative in the House of Representatives. You're probably thinking, oh, they're politicians. Why don't they get along? No, politicians don't get along, especially when they're on different sides. That's right, Jackson was an early Democrat, or Jacksonian Democrat, because the Democrat Party didn't really exist yet. We're mainly going to be focusing on Henry Clay and John Calhoun, both of which helped found the Whig Party, which was the early Republican Party. Okay, we're getting into two sides now. Fun. This all is really weird considering how Clay is like the big guy in the House, and he's making things such as the American system. Why wouldn't he side with it? And then also, his vice president is Calhoun. That's pretty weird. Oh, it's time for the unknown writing. The rules are simple. I'm shown a writing, an unknown writing. I just simply have to guess what writing it is. And if I guess incorrectly, then zap, which I will almost definitely do. Let's see what we have here. Whereas a convention assembled in the state of South Carolina have passed an ordinance by which they declare that the several acts and parts of acts of the Congress of the United States purporting to be laws for the imposing of duties and imposts on the importation of foreign commodities, and now having actual operation and effect within the United States, and more especially two acts for the same purposes, passed on the 29th of May, 1828, and on the 14th of July, 1832, are unauthorized by the Constitution of the United States, and violate the true meaning and intent therefore of, and are null and void, and no law, nor binding on the citizens of that state or its officers, and by the said ordinance it is further declared to be unlawful for any of the constituted authorities of the state or of the United States to enforce the payment of the duties imposed by the said acts within the same state, and that is the duty of the legislature to pass such laws as may be necessary to give full effect, oh, I know this, to the said ordinances. It is actually the nullification of Andrew Jackson, or rather the proclamation, nullification, proclamation. Don't get it wrong, kids. We're gonna end up like this. Ah! Can't believe I messed that up. Anyway, the reason that Andrew Jackson made that nullification proclamation is because when he was busy doing his own taxes, which Henry Clay was kind of confused about since he himself wanted more tariffs, but he wanted the general welfare of the people rather than just taxes. Tariffs and taxes are slightly different. You see, tariffs are protected for the actual producers and manufacturers rather than the imports. It's based off selling more on the exports. Taxes, however, are just the government getting money. This made pretty much everyone mad. Every state in the South was very much enraged to the point where they were going to secede from the Union. Calhoun was the governor of South Carolina and also the vice president of the United States. I know that's a bit weird, but it happened. Calhoun then declared that he had his own rights with the state and with all states to declare any act by Congress unconstitutional if the states choose to do so. That means anything passed by a Congress, even if it was constitutional, the states could just say it was unconstitutional and therefore nullify it. Andrew Jackson, of course, was furious. He basically came over and said, "Hey, Calhoun, you get rid of this nullification or else I'm gonna hang you." So Calhoun willingly obliged to not do any of that and even resigned as vice president of the United States, later to be replaced by Martin Van Buren, the future president of the United States of America. You're probably wondering why I'm just talking about Calhoun. No, you're not. Because I said trio. I just wanted to get rid of some of the trio. You see, this is more about Henry Clay than it is anybody else. Sure, Daniel Webster was involved here and there, but this is about the banks. Basically, it's Jackson against all the people of the United States of America. Now it's time for the Think Circle. Oh, we don't have enough money for that animation. We'll just cut that part out then. Henry Clay was a well-respected politician. In fact, he made his own plan and presented it to Congress and the House of Representatives and the Senate. Yeah, he was a big shot. He did all this just to show his plan for the American system, which he titled in one of his speeches to the Senate. The American system comprised of three things: protective tariffs to protect manufacturers from other monopolies from, of course, other countries. There was the internal improvements section, which was roads and canals, which came with the Industrial Revolution. And then there was the third part, the banks for federal funding. The bank was actually to replace the first bank of the United States of America, and guess what? It's named the Second Bank of the United States of America. Oh, that didn't happen. What? No, there's no Second Bank of the United States. Not yet. We didn't get there. There's a story along with it. Although Clay despised Jackson for making excessive tax in the first place, he actually helped Jackson to stop it with a compromise tax. This compromise tax was pretty much the only thing they agreed on up until then. In fact, they seemed to be working together for about 5 seconds. Enter the Bank War. In 1832, Daniel Webster and Henry Clay, back together again, went to present to Congress a new bill to renew the charter for the Bank of the United States of America. This started the Bank War. Although this war wasn't necessarily just on the bank's charter, because it was set to expire in 4 years actually. It was about Andrew Jackson. Clay wanted to actually crush Old Hickory's presidency and send him out the window, if you know what I mean. Clay's scheme was that if this bill passed Congress, it would eventually be sent to the White House to be signed by Andrew Jackson. But no matter which way he went, it would backfire on him. By signing it, Jackson would betray his followers in the West, which really liked him, by the way. But if he didn't, then he would kind of be, being jerks to those in the East. The bill pretty much flew through Congress, but as soon as it got to Jackson, he wasn't afraid to veto it. He said, "The bank is trying to kill me, but I will kill it." Of course he will. He's Andrew Jackson, the war hero. People such as Clay and Webster then formed the Anti-Masons group. The Masons were an elite group of people that were either super rich or just super weird. Andrew Jackson happened to be one of these people, so it was pretty much just targeting Andrew Jackson. Their initial goal was to convince Congress, both the House and the Senate, and even convince the Supreme Court. But that didn't exactly work. In fact, it pretty much backfired on them, as nobody liked them targeting just Andrew Jackson. Jerks. As Jackson won the next election, Clay and also Daniel Webster thought that the bank, of course, was doomed, but that's not exactly the case. The bank got completely destroyed. But Jackson realized that it was going to blow up in his face, as there was going to be a giant financial gap in the American economy. So Jackson took one from Clay's book and made a compromise of his own. Rather than making a Bank of the United States or having no bank at all, he combined the two ideas by spreading out pet banks, which spread out the money to different areas rather than just one designated location that was just for the federal government. This was for everyone. These wildcat banks didn't exactly work out exactly as Jackson planned. In fact, the normal currency pretty much was worthless, and they had to resort to using metallic circles. That's right, circles. Discs, little discs to buy stuff. That would be crazy. Oh yeah, this is the introduction of the cent. Little useful thing we have today, except with the little shortage we have. Anyways, everybody used these pet banks until the charter of the Bank of the United States of America expired, thus killing the bank. Jackson thought, oh, he won. Clay thought, oh, he was done for. No, Jackson isn't the president forever. He can only serve 2 terms. After Martin Van Buren got in the next election, they were fighting their way back in with a second Bank of the United States of America, and eventually did get it. So, in the end, Jackson didn't exactly get the victory he was hoping for. What was the result of the bank war? Well, economic collapse, of course. No, not quite. It's just that a lot of people became bankrupt, and a lot of people suffered, and a lot of people had to make cents. Pennies! Who am I kidding? I love quarters. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you for watching a video with my eyes cut out the entire time. You should go like and subscribe those videos by The Real Crash Course History, and also watch them. They're pretty educational and 100% accurate. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.